So I'm going to tell you very quickly about 4 or 5 memories that I have of Jed over the last 4 years, and then I'll very quickly turn it over to Jed because it is his moment after all. So I'm sitting at my computer in the office, and the little notification pops up, and my 9th grade advisee, who I've known for about a month or two, has gotten another merit. And I can't remember, but I think it might have been the year we introduced the idea of giving students merits. Well, it's my story, so I'm going to say it is. So he just kept getting merits, and I was like, who is this kid? I've known him for like a month, and he's just, wow, everybody's really impressed by this young man. Now, that year eventually got cut short because of COVID, and everybody went home. So my second story is we decided, the Ainsley dorm parents decided to have an Ainsley dorm reunion on Zoom. We're doing Zoom meetings. And all the teachers logged on to the Zoom meeting early. I'm like, the kids are not going to show up to this. They're happy at home and doing their thing. And who shows up? Jed shows up, right? He pops up. Hey, everyone. Ready, friendly. And then everybody else started to pile in, and then everyone's there for this moment. And it says so much about Jed when he was on dorm, of all the nice things he did to help students out, help his roommate move furniture around so things could get set up right, and just everything that brought those kids together, and a lot of that had to do with Jed. So next memory, I think I might have been walking towards Van Every, and I turned the corner, and Jed is there in a sling because he had to have surgery on his arm. Jed is a pitcher. And, right, pitcher, right? Yeah, sorry. So suddenly got scared that I was going to give the wrong position. Oh my goodness, I mean, that's so, his baseball career, he loves baseball, it's going to be so good. And I felt so horrible for him. And Jed, what I saw, though, throughout the rest of the year was Jed kept going to practice, and he's talking about the team and how all the things they're doing and how the team camaraderie is going well. And he took that really, lousy break and was still so positive and still so kind of amazing and wonderful in terms of how he coped with it. So then the next memory is we're sitting at the advisory tables in lunch. And it was right before Valentine's Day, and they had all the little sheets about signing up for, remember you can sign up for the roses and the little chocolates that you can send off to loved ones. And, Jed, of course, is one of the first people to sit down at advisory, and we're, pull the sheet over and we're looking at it, and Jed and I are looking at it, and Jed and I had the same thought at the same moment, which is, well, roses would be great to get for someone we really care about. Well, roses are really expensive. And because you're always like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a dozen roses, and then that'll be awesome. And then you're like, ooh, that actually adds up. And so, again, that kind of little bit of humor that Jed also brings there. And he's so dependable and thoughtful and everything, you forget how funny he can be. And then the final memory, just the beginning of this year during orientation. And we had new students joining the advisory, and Jed comes on over to the table to welcome them the very first day, and is already giving them advice and helping them out and reminding them about things to do and what can work well. And again, that just says so much about him. I've been very fortunate to get to have Jed to get to know him and have him be a part of our advisory. He is an amazing person, and that is all completely due to him and the way he views life and the way he just is so awesome in terms of his outlook. And I know he's going to have tremendous success going forward, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. I know it'll be really wonderful, so I'm looking forward to it, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Campbell, for the kind words on such short notice. I'm sorry for forgetting to tell you at my counselor talk today until at 9:30 in the Hopkins Writing Center when I saw you by chance while I was printing my paper. After listening to counselor talks for 4 years, I will admit that I spent most of the time only half paying attention to what the person was saying and mostly thinking about what I would say if I became a counselor. So in exchange for my lack of attention, I hope that if any of you find my counselor talk to be boring, that you use this time to brainstorm your future counselor talk. Many of my favorite counselor talks involve people telling stories about their time at VES. So I'm going to tell a few stories from my time here which taught me a lot about life. During the COVID year at VS, my life was weird, just like everyone else's, believe it or not. I had an arm surgery, which took me out of baseball for 18 months. And as a result of accidentally making baseball my entire personality, I felt I'd lost a part of my identity. I felt uncertain about my future, and I was just overall not in a good mental state. This changed during the middle of the baseball season after a game at Blue Ridge. We had an older man become an assistant coach during the season. He came and went without really saying anything, and embarrassingly enough, I don't remember his name, but I do remember what he had to say. Due to COVID restrictions, day students and boarders had to take separate vehicles to the game. The boarders rode on the bus with Coach Keeling, and the day students took a Honda minivan that the assistant coach was driving. This included me, Charlie, Matt Gates, Katie Bloom, and Kevin Bremen, who some of you may remember. After about 10 minutes of trying to help our coach figure out how to start the car, we left for the game. We ended up tying the game, which was sad, but we were going to Raising Cane's after, so everyone was in a pretty good mood. We got lost in the mountains on the way back and without internet service, so we were kind of stuck. After sitting in complete silence, out of nowhere, Kevin Bremen asked our assistant coach what his biggest fear in life was. To which he replied, going back. The car went silent for a bit, and everyone was pretty confused, until I remembered him mentioning that he was a Vietnam vet. Everyone else soon realized this, and you could feel the awkwardness in the air. He began to tell these horrific war stories in detail, and I felt this guilt come over me. I thought to myself, damn, I've been so sad just because I can't throw a baseball, and this man, who was only a few years older than me at the time, was fighting for his life in Vietnam. I'd never felt so ungrateful in my life. Then, somehow, we finally arrived at Cane's and got our food. We sat down, and Sims turned to me and said, "This is the greatest thing ever." And you know what? He was completely right. I thought to myself, I'm eating chicken tenders with my boys right now. I'm not scared for my life in the middle of a Vietnamese jungle. Life is great, and everything will be great. I felt this immense gratitude come over me, which I've carried with me since that moment. His perspective helped me understand that my life was good, and I had really nothing to worry about compared to a lot of people on earth. The other thing I wanted to talk about was my time as DJ Jed. This taught me a lot about life. I think many seniors will remember the first DJ party on the first Friday of our freshman year. There were so many people there, and the walls were drenched with sweat. It was one of the coolest things I'd seen in my life up until that point. I was just thinking about how I wanted to become a junior RA and become the DJ. Admittedly, it was really the main reason I became an RA. Then came my junior year. I was selected to be an RA, and the first step of my plan was complete. After months of trying to have one in Pendleton basement, we weren't allowed to because of COVID, and we had to have it in Barksdale. This was really scary to me because the size of Barksdale would make it feel as if nobody was there. My suspicions turned out to be true, and people stood awkwardly around the gym, and it was really a failure. My girlfriend got a concussion, and everyone seemed to blame me for my music choice. I felt attacked because I had spent so much time working on the playlist. I honestly really let it get to me. When we were planning the next DJ, I asked if anyone else wanted to play the music, which nobody would do. Then it hit me. Why am I letting someone's criticism get to me if they aren't willing to be in the same position as me? I shouldn't give their opinion any thought if they won't be the DJ. This reminded me of Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, which goes, "It is not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit of the man belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming." While that may seem dramatic, and it is dramatic, this realization is carried with me. I let the outside factors of gym size and many teams being gone for away games, which I couldn't control, affect me internally. I learned to stop worrying about things I can't control and just accept them. With this newfound knowledge, I went to the next DJ, which was finally able to be in P-Town basement with a lot more confidence. This time, it was a little better, but it still wasn't that good. I realized I'd set my expectations too high. Maybe a bunch of teenagers jumping around a sweaty basement listening to clean rap music isn't the coolest thing in the world to me now. You change as you get older, and I think I was trying to recreate a cool memory from freshman year, which is impossible. I found that each year at VS is different, and you have to try to create new experiences instead of trying to recreate ones from prior years. I still have a lot to learn and figure out. I still don't know how to tie a tie. I wear a clip-on bow tie every day to school. I'm still as lost as confused as freshman year, but I think that's just how life is. I would like to thank the dining hall staff for everything they do. I recommend that at dinner you stay until they kick you out and then always say thank you when you put your dishes away. I find that some of the best conversations I've ever had are in the last 10 minutes of dinner before the dining hall staff kicks you out. Shout out to Leah for being an awesome girlfriend and editing this talk. Shout out to Mr. Campbell for being an amazing advisor. Shout out to Chill Combos with Michael G and Billy after study hall. Shout out to all the roommates I've had, Robbie, Albert, and Michael. Shout out Coach Keeling. Shout out Hunt Bailey for being my best friend since I moved on to Ainsley as a freshman. Shout out to Charlie for always catching my pins. Shout out to Roddy. Shout out to Campbell for being a good brother. Shout out to my mom for always being there for me and helping me with anything I need. Shout out to my dad for everything he does, like driving me absurd distances for baseball stuff. I know the Joe Rogan podcast and cookout stops make it worth it. I don't know how many days till graduation it is, but it's basically Thanksgiving break, so that's hype. Thank you.